Hello and welcome to the Creative Mindset Podcast. My name is Isolde Trachtenberg and I am talking to you from the streets of Bushwick, Brooklyn, New York City, New York. Whew! It's the first Monday of 2020. Isn't that a little weird? We're in a brand new decade, and I know a lot of people made a lot of resolutions. How am I going to treat the next decade? What am I going to do? And one of the things that I am always sort of thinking about in these times of resolution is, how do you do it in a way that is substantive and that's going to work for you? Ultimately, I think we all have to come up with our own system that works for us, right? You have to come up with a system that works for you, because everything else feels like it's a sweater that's just a little too tight, or a coat that's ill-fitting, until you figure out Goldilocks method, the one that's just right for you. And when I created the Get Your Stuff Done method and put the book out, I tried to make it pretty flexible, because to me a lot of it is about use the best, lose the rest, and some things may work for you, some things might not, but I think the basics are pretty sound. What are the basics? Well, if you want to make a resolution to achieve something, you need to break it down into doable steps, right? So that's what I did. 1 project, 3 tasks, and for each project you get 3 projects a day. So you don't overdo, but you're required to break everything down into the individual tasks. And I think part of why that works is because we need to see it. We need to encapsulate it somehow. We need to think through, even if we're not realizing it. Even if you don't realize that you need to think through the steps of a process, you kind of do. Because throwing your hands up willy-nilly and going, oh, I'm just going to make this happen, without knowing what step A and step B and step C are, is going to make you wonky. You're not gonna do things as efficiently, and if you're not sure what the next step is, you might throw up your hands and go, forget it, and then not try at all. So part of the process for me when I do this whole thing, because yes, I do use the process. I created it, I developed it, and I use it. Part of the thing that I have to go through is break everything down. Sorry. Walking through the streets means you inhale gas fumes. Anyway, I break everything down into the actual steps, right? Wow. That's something. Anyway, so each thing figured out from beginning to middle to end will allow you to, first of all, know what you have to do, know what you're doing while you're doing it, and know what you've achieved once you've finished. Because being able to put that punctuation point of crossing it off gives me, anyway, this sort of knowledge, okay, that step is finished, and now I can move on to the next step. Ironing out for yourself what those steps are is going to allow you to start projects, work through them, and then finish them and move on to the next thing. I was just talking to my best friend this morning, and she said, "My stars, you're so prolific." And I thought, well, perhaps. I mean, I've done a bunch of stuff, absolutely, but I don't look at it in those terms. I look at it more like, this is what interests me, this is how I think I can help. I put those 2 things together and I develop the project, and then I follow the system that I've created to get it done. Without having that system in place, I'd make myself wonky, and I'd be like that, I call it to my clients, the little hamster running in the wheel, never getting anywhere, right? Because you're spinning your wheels really fast, but you haven't moved anywhere unless you can quantify for yourself ultimately what works and what doesn't. So whatever you do this year, I want to encourage you to think about that. Think about what are the ways that you can dream up your projects, Evaluate what steps have to be done in order to complete the projects. Keep track of the steps as you complete them. And then, once you do complete them, mark them done so that your subconscious can go, okay, that's finished. I can now move on to the next step. And then you figure out those next steps at the same time, and you'll be able to get all that stuff done. Okay. This is Isolde Trachtenberg, standing at the M train, wishing you a wonderful, wonderful day, wonderful Monday, or actually Tuesday, and sending you all of my love. Until next time, let's get to it.